Welcome to the Success at Work Virtual Mentoring Series. Today's installment is on virtual interviewing secrets. How to wow them. Today we are joined by our guest speaker, Sara Hill, an HR executive.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Sara. And our Director of Music and Web, Amanda.
Hello.
And myself, Lynn, the co-founder of Petite to Queen. Let's get started. We're going to start with setting the stage. And Sara, would you like to take the lead here for us?
Absolutely. So one of the first things that you want to do when you are preparing for a virtual interview is really get to know your computer, your laptop, or your iPhone, whatever you might be using. You want to be comfortable enough with the tool that you're using that while you're going through the interview, it's just going to flow very smoothly and naturally. Also, Skype accounts do require a username. Make sure your username is professional. So, for example, you don't want to be using a username like my daughter's, which is like Puppy Maya, whatever it might be. You want to be sure that it is professional based. The location of this virtual interview is also very critical. You want it to be in a location that is very neutral. So putting it maybe at your kitchen table or in your office where the background is, you may have a clock in the background or you may have a landscape photo, but nothing too personal. You want it to be neutral. You want to dress the part. Your interviewer is going to be able to see you if you're doing a Skype interview, and so you do want to look professional. And then lastly, a headset is a must. You want to be able to have your hands free. You want to be able to speak clearly into your headset. You don't want to be having a phone, that you have up to your ear because it's going to be very distracting for the interviewer to watch.
Sara, I have I have a question for you on specifically regarding the location, because I know that things can be distracting when someone can see everything that's behind you. So what should you avoid?
Avoid your kitchen area. So a lot of times you have a tendency to have things on the refrigerator that might show in the Skype interview. You don't want to have that. You don't want to have a background where you have a window. The window may provide a glare that you are not even aware of, or there may be activity behind the window that could be distracting for the interviewer as well.
Terrific. All right. So here we are, lights, camera, action. Sara, what can you tell us about the actual getting ready?
Okay. First, review the notes, review your resume again. Review the history of the company, some critical information of the company, and have notes ready for the interview. Interviewers may ask you like a specific question about a specific situation that pertains to the job that you're applying for. Have those notes ready on the side. You can put them in a location where you can see them easily, but the interviewer cannot see them. And you definitely want to practice your webcam. So, what I suggest is practice with, a friend or somebody who can give you some constructive feedback ahead of time. So is your webcam, is it positioned correctly? Are you coming across clearly? Are you exhibiting habits that you may not even be aware of? And you want to be mindful of distracting habits. So, do you pull on your hair? Do you crack your knuckles? That kind of thing. Be very mindful because they're going to come across in the interview. You want to shut down other programs. Why do you want to do this? Because you may get a pop-up, like an email coming through, and it may be visible to the interviewer. So shut everything else down except for the Skype. And you want to be up and running, ready to go when that interview starts.
Sarah, I have a question. What if you need to do the interview with your smartphone?
Well, I would suggest using a tripod or something where you can really position the iPhone so it's secure and doesn't move. And practice ahead of time. So how far from yourself do you need to position that iPhone? And make sure that you put your, the iPhone settings so that another call can't come through, no text messages can't come through, that type of thing.
Okay, so it sounds like some careful planning. And let's take the next step to play the part during the interview. Sarah, what can you share with us on playing the part?
Okay, maintain eye contact. You're essentially going to be talking to this person like they were across the table. Smile. Smiling helps you to relax. It helps you to breathe easier. It helps you to come across more clearly. Stay present and active listening is critical as well. And what is active listening? It's a skill that requires you to use all of your senses while you're listening. You're giving the interviewer full attention. They can see that you're engaged. You can nod your head. You can smile. You can, say or something like that to acknowledge what they're saying.
Yeah, those are all really great tips, Sarah. One thing I was thinking about, because it came up when we were talking about the notes and you're playing the part and positioning those notes, one tip I would have is, because I've used this in virtual meetings, video conferences, is that I place the notes into one of those clear plastic holders, sort of the old style when people are, doing a lot of typing. And it can be right next to the computer, but off to the side. So it's not visible to the other person that you are, or people that you're having the video conference, or in this case, a Skype conversation, and yet they're held upright. I will actually type them out so they're a little bit bolder, so they're easy to read, bullet points, so that I have the, any kind of the concept of what I need to say. And I don't know if you think that's a great idea, good idea, or if you have some other tips.
No, I think that's a great idea. And I like the idea of being able to have them on a stand, like you said. They'll be at eye level. It doesn't appear that you're looking down at your notes. You can still maintain eye contact while you have your notes right there. I think that's a great idea.
Yay! Okay, so here we are. You were doing the interview. You've got your notes positioned. What can you share about the interview itself during the performance?
During the performance, immediately address any technical difficulties that may come up. An example might be, there might be an issue with volume, or what's another one, like static, something like that. Immediately address them so that you are not continuing the interview while these technical difficulties are going on. Vocal techniques. We talked about vocal techniques in our first slides. And again, this is very critical. Be aware of the fluctuation. Be aware of the clarity and the tone of your voice, the speed at which you're talking. That's all very critical during this interview. The interviewer style awareness. Interviewers all have a different style of interviewing. Are they coming across very quickly? Can you sense that they're going to want an answer to a question that is more brief? Can you sense that they want something, an answer to a question that is more detailed and structured? So try to be aware of their specific style. And be genuine. Demonstrate your interest. Smile. Be engaged. It's a conversation. It's really important that you do demonstrate your interest, because, you really ultimately want to get to the next step of having an in-person interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, to your point, we did go into quite a bit of detail on vocal techniques in the part 1 of the series on the phone interviews. So our members can check that out, review that. So before the end of the interview, before the curtain call, Sara, take us there.
Okay, so end with a thank you. I apologize. I'm going to have to cut this off for a sec because I skipped a slide. Okay, going back. Have your questions ready. The recommendation is to have 3 questions that you can ask the interviewer at the end of the interview. What are next steps? What do you consider? Who do you consider a viable candidate for this position, etc.? Don't ask, can't get a yes. What does that mean? It means if you don't ask your question, you can't get a response. And thank them. Verbally thank them for the interview during the interview or at the end of the interview. And then lastly, exit Skype or whatever program you're using after the interviewer exits. You don't want to assume they're finished with the meeting and exit before, because that doesn't send a good message to the interviewer.
Does compensation often come up during the virtual interview? And if so, how should you respond?
It will come up more than 50% of the time. A good way to respond is, and one of the questions that comes up is, what are your salary requirements? Avoid bringing up your past salary, especially if it was lower than the salary that you think is going to be within the salary range of this particular position. If compensation comes up, be ready to answer with a range. So the other positions that I'm applying for fall in the salary range of $95,000 to $105,000.
Great tip there, Sara. So now we're ending our interview with a standing ovation. What do you have to recommend to our members?
First, send a thank you email. Send that thank you email before you even shut your laptop down. When you send the thank you email, I always recommend not only thanking them for the interview and their time, but also put in some verbiage around why you specifically want that position. Then connect on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, more than ever, is being used as a tool for a recruiter or an interviewer, a hiring manager, to be able to look at your work history that has more information than your resume. And then write notes down. Write notes down that of the interview that you can remember. Did somebody's name come up? Did a hiring manager's name come up? Anything specific that you can remember about the interview, and write them down immediately after while you're remembering specifics about the interview.
All right. That is terrific advice. And I think that the next step is going to be part 3, which is our in-person interview. So that will be the next webinar. And, Sara, once again, I want to thank you on behalf of all the members and all of us here at Petite Queen. This has been really great information. And I'm really excited to hear your tips on part 3, the in-person interviews.
Well, thank you, Lynn.
So, now it's our time to close. And as Sara has recommended, and I always do, thank you. Thank you to our members and guests who've joined us for this installment in the Success at Work virtual mentoring series. And thank you for being part of the dialogue, at Petite to Queen. If you have a question or would like to suggest topics for discussion, please email us at jointheconversation@petitetoqueen.com.